Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see from the title, today's video is going to be a dating horror story. I'm gonna try to keep this one as PG as possible. Warning. Okay, so I'm just gonna do my makeup while I talk to you guys. You know the drill. I won't do too many interruptions, but everything will be linked below as far as what I'm using, and I will have a timestamp on when you can go ahead and just skip to the story. Timestamps will be below. I'm gonna use my NARS Radiant Longwear, and because I don't feel like hunting for a beauty blender, your girl's actually gonna use a brush for her face. Okay, so this was technically a blind date. I was working at this one place, and it was a mixture of both young and older people. And I remember when I worked there, this one older lady, she kind of talked to me, but not really that much. And then one day we ended up working together, and she was like, you know what? She was like, I have somebody that I think you should meet, somebody that you would be perfect for. And I'm like, no, I really don't like doing the whole like hookup thing. And she's like, no, trust me. You guys would go really well together. And the last person I hooked up, they've been married for 20 years, which was not what I was looking for. But I was like, okay, maybe she knows this person, she works with me, maybe she thinks, you know, things will go good. So I'm like, okay, I will go on this sort of blind date, if you will. Now moving forward, she's like, okay, let me give you his phone number. She gives me his phone number, we text message, everything seems fine. This was pre where you Google people, where you went on social media to see what they look like. This was like pre my cell phone send pictures. I know that sounds crazy, right? Keep in mind, this was only like the the early 2000s where this was like a thing. So I said to him, you know, describe yourself. So he described himself to me. He's like, oh, I'm average height. I'm about 5'8", and I'm muscly, I'm stocky. Stocky, I don't know if that's a California word or not, but stocky just means like, you know what I mean? Like not necessarily jiggly fat, but just like, you know, stocky. So it can be muscly, it can kind of just mean you're just a big bone person, but you know, anyways, it's hard to explain it, but it's a term we use out here. Hopefully I can find the Urban Dictionary description of stocky and put it right here. And I'm like, okay, you know, I describe myself to him. We're good to go. And he says, I want to pick you up and take you out. I said, I had already kind of been leaning towards the I won't let anybody take me out type thing, or drive thing. But I said, you know what? I'm gonna ask my coworker. So I asked her, I said, he wants to pick me up. I said, and typically I don't do that. I said, you know, are you sure like he's a cool person? She's like, oh, 100%, absolutely. Like I would trust him with my child's life. And she's like, I said, you're an older woman, right? So I'm like, okay, so ain't nothing gonna come out of left field with him. She's like, no, absolutely not. You have nothing to worry about. So against my better judgment, you guys, I said, okay, he can pick me up. Now, he comes, he picks me up. I really don't remember what kind of car he had. I remember it being silver, but it was a decent car or whatever. So we decided to go to the beach. Now, I don't know if I told you guys this in my prior dating horror story, the one with receipts. I will link it here. But I felt for a long time that I had like this curse, this beach curse. Like if I went on a date with the beach, like that relationship was doomed. And this is when I kind of started getting that feeling like, maybe I'm setting myself up for failure by going on this beach date when I know every single time I go on a date to the beach, it does not end well. But I was, you know what, Amber, that is in your head. That is not the case. Plenty of people in Southern California go on dates in the beach. That's what we do. You'll be fine. So I went. So every time we're talking in the car, it's kind of dark, right? And it's nighttime, so we're driving. So he'll say something like, yeah, you know, because let me give you an example. I love me some Popeyes, just to throw something out there because I don't remember what the conversation about. He would look at me and I would see something, but I really couldn't make out what he was doing. Like, did he have a nervous twitch? Like, I didn't know what was going on, but every time he said a sentence, he looked at me. So I made a point to myself that I was not gonna pay attention to it because I said, what if it's a nervous tick or something like that? I don't want him to see me staring at it because that would be rude, right? And I'm not a rude person. I said, just ignore it, Amber, just ignore it. So when we get to the beach, we park. When we park up under the lights. And then he goes, well, do you want to stay in the car or do you want to go for a walk? And when he says, do you want to go for a walk? He goes, and that's when I noticed that he had been doing that the whole time. Every time he said something, he was flicking his tongue. Homeboy had 3 tongue rings. You heard me right, I said 3. Stacked in a row, like that, like boom, 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 he had 3. So that's not something that you can just skate past. So I said, oh, you have 3 tongue rings. He's like, yeah. Please. Please. And he was like, yeah, I got 3 tongue rings. I said, oh, okay. And for those of you who do not know, my tongue was also pierced. I had my tongue pierced for like, gosh, I want to say almost 20 years. No. I had my tongue pierced for like 10 to 15 years. Yeah, I got my tongue pierced when I was like 16. And I kept it forever. Like I've been without a tongue ring shorter than I have been with a tongue ring. Like I took it out shortly to starting YouTube, to be honest with you. So no judgment, right? I have a tongue ring, but 3 is a bit excessive. If you've ever gotten your tongue pierced, the amount of hygiene that it requires, the amount of cleaning that it requires. Also, if you have metal balls that can hit your teeth, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I couldn't see myself wanting to have 3. But anyways, I digress. So we decided to go for a walk on the beach. He grabs a blanket and we were at Manhattan Beach, which Manhattan Beach, there is like the long pier that you can walk on, but also before you get to the pier, you can choose to walk down this pathway. And the pathway is just a row in front of all of these houses. So we're walking down that pathway, and then there's also like a little offshoot of sand. So he's like, well, let's just go sit in the sand with the blanket. I'm like, okay, whatever, we'll go sit in the sand. So we're sitting there, we're talking, and I can't get over how every time he finishes a sentence, he flicks his tongue. Like, what are we doing? So we're sitting in the sand, right? And I'm already thinking to myself, like, oh, he hasn't done anything, Amber. He's just not your cup of tea. Just hang in there, right? So we're sitting there and he starts doing this growl, grumble, like an animal, like just out of nowhere. So I'm like, okay, this is definitely not something that I'm gonna sit here and deal with for the remainder of the night. So I was like, is everything okay? Oh, don't mind me.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I said, okay. So I'm gonna ignore it. I'm not gonna ask about this grumbling or growling noise. He keeps growling and grumbling. And I said, what are you doing? Like, what is happening? Oh, that's just what happens when I get really turned on. Okay, so now you've done something. Not only are you not my cup of tea, you just went left when you should have been going right. He's like, don't mind me, it'll pass. So I said, it better. So he laughs it off or whatever. So we're still sitting there, and then he says, are you a freak? And man, let me be clear. If any of you are out there listening, don't ask women that. Don't. Especially when you are nowhere near ever being in a position to find out. You're not even being considered for the position, if that makes sense. That's like walking into Starbucks, ordering a beverage and saying, how much do y'all pay? What's y'all benefits? Excuse me? Like, that's how it feels, okay? Now, if you want to apply for Starbucks and get an interview, and then you can say, oh, I have a question. That's how that works. Lesson of the day. So I answer his question. I said, no, I'm not, and I'm celibate. Like, that's how uninterested I am. Like, it's never gonna happen. And he's like, ha 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 ha. You so funny. I already know about you. You don't know anything about me. You don't know anything about me. And please don't try to tell me what you know about me, because more than likely you're gonna offend me. I'm not doing much of anything to my eyes, guys. Just gonna put a little bronzer on my eyelid. So here's where things get sticky. I decided at this point that this date is pretty much over. So I'm just going to keep my conversation as bland and as dry as possible, and maybe things won't get worse. Please understand that it was literally crickets. We were just sitting there and it was just like, I was like, you know what? I need to make haste. So he turns around and he looks at me and he says, can I?
Baby?
No. Excuse me? What made you think that we were there? Like, so I said, you know what? I'm gonna go to the bathroom, because right where we were on the sand, you can get back onto the concrete of the parking lot, which is a really small parking lot. You walk a couple of steps and there was like a bar right at the corner. So I said, I'm gonna go to the bar and use the bathroom. He says, okay, I'm gonna walk with you. Very gentleman of you. Okay, whatever, you can walk with me. I go to get up, and he was kind of like laying down like this, and I was sitting. When I go to get up, he leans forward and bites my vagina. Literally took a bite out of crying. So I almost snapped my ankle trying to get up, because I'm already big and you just threw off my equilibrium with your Walking Dead attack on me. And I said, whoa, what's going on? He said, I'm just being silly. Please don't be. Now, I told you I was gonna try to keep this PG-13. There's no way for me to say that other than he straight took a bite out of crying. I mean, I just, did it hurt? No. It was like barely a grabbage, but it's still like, what are you thinking? Anyways, moving along with the story. So I quickly get up, I go in the restaurant, and at this point, well, the bar, and actually, you know what? It couldn't have been a bar. It couldn't have been a bar, because I was not 21. Yeah, it could not have been a bar. So, or maybe it was and they just let me in because I always looked older. I don't remember. I just remember that it is right at the corner as soon as you start to go up the pier from the parking lot. So anybody familiar with the area, whatever, is literally right there at the corner. So I go in, I go use the bathroom, and at this point, I'm in panic mode.
I said, oh Lord G.
Okay, I'm like, this is absolutely horrible and terrible, and I want out, and I need to figure out how I'm going to get out of this. Okay, so it sounds crazy, but in my head I was like, stay in here like you're going number 2. Yeah, stay in here as long as you can. And then he's not going to want to make passes at you if he thinks you just dropped a deuce in the bathroom. That's where my mind went, y'all. So I stayed in the bathroom for as long as I could. But beach, restaurant, real estate on that part of town is very small. So it wasn't like this huge bathroom with like multiple stalls. So I couldn't stay in there as long as I wanted. And keep in mind, I didn't care what none of those people in the restaurant thought. This little young black girl that walked in here and she's gonna blow up the bathroom and she ain't even patronizing the business. I was literally just standing there. I sure was. Just. Okay. Now, if I'm being honest with you, a part of me was secretly hoping that he left me, because although I would have had to find other arrangement, I was actually okay with it at that point, in finding other arrangement. I sure was. So after a while I couldn't wait anymore, so I went ahead and I went outside, and he was still there. He was still standing outside the door. And then he's like, do you want to stay here and grab something to eat, or do you want to go around here and get something to eat? I was like, no, I'm not feeling well. Like really trying to sell this, I just used the bathroom thing, right? And he's like, okay, well, he takes it as a compliment. Like, oh, okay, well, I guess that means I make you nervous. Yeah, but not in the way you think, buddy. Not in the way you think. So we get back in the car and he takes me out. He's like, well, you know, maybe we can hang out another time when you're feeling better. I said, sure. So I was not used to people picking me up from my house. I didn't want anyone to know where I stayed. So when he picked me up, I went and stood in front of a random apartment building and had him pick me up from there. So when he dropped me, I was already waiting outside. So when he dropped me off, I had him drop me off at that same random apartment building. Except for this time, he's not gonna stand there and drive off while I'm just standing in front of it. So now I have to finagle it and actually go inside. My plan was, if the date actually went well, then I was just gonna be like, you know what, actually drive me down a little bit, this is where I live. But that wasn't the case, right? I had to fumble like I was looking in my purse for my key. Then luckily somebody was coming out. So I went inside the gate and I'm like, bye. He's like, bye. He drives off. Why as soon as I get into the gate, off lurking in the corner, somebody like, hey mom, what's up? Then over here it's like, hey, how you doing, sweet thing? Like, I felt like Snow White. When she's like running through the forest. Like, I just escaped that. As soon as I come in here, you're here, you here. They may have not meant me any harm, people. I was over it. So I ran out of there, literally, like Snow White, and got home. The one thing that kept crossing my mind the entire day was, why did she think we were a good match? I went to work the next day because we gotta have a conversation. So as soon as she comes in, she's like, hey, how was the date? I said, well, I'm glad you asked. I said, your little friend who's such a gentleman, bit my vagina. And she's like, oh, no, I don't need to know. No. I said, see, you're thinking that's something that the young folks say. I said, no. Like, attacked me. She's like, oh, not, oh my gosh, he would never do that. I can't believe he behaved that way. No. She said, oh, well, did you at least have fun? I said, no. And I said, I'm wondering why you thought that he was a good match for me. And she says, oh, you both have tongue rings.
Bruh.
Let me tell you something. Be careful about blind dates, but definitely don't let people hook you up who don't really know you or don't really know the other person. She just assumed because I was young and had a tongue ring that I was into whatever this dude was into. When it's a little bit different than that. Yeah. My tongue ring was a fashion accessory and his was a freak of nature on some alien type ish. So yeah, guys, that is literally probably one of my more traumatic dating stories, and we're just unfolding what makes Amber Amber. My Amber has certain rules as to how she will arrive at a date, when she will leave. Now, right now, in this day and age, I am 10 times bolder to the point of being mean. Homeboy would have got told immediately, this ain't happening. I'm not sleeping with you. I'm not interested. If you can't hold your horses and keep your growls and everything to yourself, I'm going to leave. That's the Amber now. The Amber then was just like, don't be mean, don't hurt his feelings. I don't care about your feelings now. I don't. So if I could give you any giblets, it's to put the cards on the table. Somebody send you a text message and the text message says something like, what's your favorite position? Or just something evasive. Go straight for the gusto. Why are you asking me this? It's not like I'm sleeping with you. You ladies, you have to be upfront or it will drag on and you will give somebody the idea that they actually have a chance when they don't. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this simple makeup look. I literally just used my bronzer over my eyes just to give a little bit of color, heavy liner and mascara for a more natural look, and then a nude lip because this is just more like I want to look put together, but I don't want to be too showy. I will list all the products that I used down below. Make sure to comment if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.